Lancia Stratos is probably one of the two most important rally cars ever made. It was the first car purely designed so that it would be good for rallying, and since it was light, agile and had a Ferrari V6 engine, it was certainly very fast. It went on to win the World Rally Championship 3 times in a row, and it meant that if a manufacturer wanted to keep up with the Italians, their car would have to be designed specifically for rallying. And this is the other one, the Audi Quattro. And the first thing you notice about it is that it's certainly not as good looking as the Stratos. With its massive rear wing and front aero stuff, you wouldn't call the car exactly ugly, but definitely bizarre. But why this car is so important is that it was the car to show the rallying world that four-wheel drive was the way to go. Up until now, other teams had thought that four-wheel drive, despite the better traction you got with it, was too heavy and too complicated and thus unreliable for rallying. And it was only when the Quattro started to win that they changed their mind. Driving the car, though, comes as somewhat of a shock. It's nowhere near as brutal as I expected. What you hear about how hard the Group B cars were to drive, I was expecting it to try and throw me off the road at every corner, but it just didn't. The four-wheel drive system gives plenty of grip through the corners along with the vast amount of aero, and while it was possible to get it sliding, it was only really if you were trying to make it. The brakes are incredibly good, as you would expect from a rally car, and the acceleration is more than enough to scare most modern supercars. From the cabin, there is actually quite good visibility. There's no rolled cage bars getting in the way like there is in quite a lot of modern racing cars. So there is absolutely millions of buttons, all of which I have absolutely no clue what any of them do. There are, however, a few problems. Firstly is understeer. Like all four-wheel drive cars, it has an annoying habit of catching you out with understeer when you least expect it. Although if you do end up on the grass, what does it really matter? This is a rally car after all. And then there's the turbo lag. Trying to get this car started is an absolute nightmare. It says it should do 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, but the turbos don't kick in until after 20-30 miles an hour, and the car bogs down horribly up until then. You can't even blame my crappy driving for this, since this is footage of the Stig trying to learn how to launch it. Despite the turbo lag, the understeer, and the fact that it costs nearly $1 million credits, this car is easily one of my favourites. Just for that noise alone, it's worth the money. It's all very well and good this car being planted on the racetrack, but I would love to see Turn 10 put in some rally stages so we could drive cars like the Quattro where they're meant to be driven. But in the absence of that, it's down to the Stig to get a lap time out of this car. So here is Stig on the line with the Quattro. Can he get the launch right? And it still wants to bog down. It's still hard getting it up. But once it's in that turbo range, it really is very rapid acceleration. Coming up to the first corner then, heavy on the brakes. Dips all hit on the grass, but that's not really going to be a problem for a rally car like this. Gets it turned in nicely. There's not too much understeer there, because it's a little bit wide on the exit, but it's not really something to worry about. Coming up to Chicago now, will it understeer? This Stig keeps it all nicely under control, there's no oversteer or anything at all. Now we can unleash all 470 horsepower the car has to offer coming down to Hammerhead. Again, this is going to be the tricky corner for this car, since four-wheel drive cars will understeer through here, but Stig keeps it all nicely in between the lines. It starts to wander a little bit wide on the exit, but not too bad. Coming up to the fastest corner on the track, and with all the downforce, the Quattro is very quick through the follow-through. And then coming up to the tyre walls, it's still going very, very fast. It's very scary through there. Second to last corner now, the one that catches everybody out. Hard on the brakes, turns in nicely. There's a little bit of understeer again, dipping a wheel on the grass, but still under control, and around Gambon and across the line. Now, the Quattro did a lap time of 1:12.9, which puts it as the fastest car we've had around here. But quite what to do with it, I'm not really sure. The normal thing is, will it go over a speed bump? Well, yes, it's a rally car, so it has the ground clearance to do it. And there is a possibility that the Quattro might have been road legal, since in between stages, rather than loading all the rally cars onto trailers and stuff, there are times when they drive them on the roads, so the Quattro might actually be road legal. So for now, we're going to leave it on the board until anybody can inform us of quite where it stands. But that's it, folks, this week. Thank you very much for watching. So until next time, goodbye.